Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if it's your first time here. My name is Natalie Beisner. I am a former Democrat who left the Democrat Party in 2020. I'm also a former atheist, agnostic, and now a believer. Changed my whole life in the past 5 years. Did not happen overnight, and I never thought it would happen in the first place. So now I do political commentary. I have a weekly appearance that I do on Fox News at night with Trace Gallagher. But today I want to talk about this story that really spoke to me. It is a story about this woman who at the time was 28 years old, an administrative assistant in Yonkers, and she had a fiance, and her fiance were having trouble apparently getting pregnant. I don't know how long they were trying, but it was not happening as quickly as they thought it was going to happen. Let's suffice it to say. And so they broke up for 3 weeks, apparently partially at least, because of the stress that trying to conceive was putting on them. And during that 3 weeks, while they were broken up, this woman had a fling with another man. According to her, she only had relations with him once, and they used a condom. However, the woman and her fiance get back together. And by August of last year, she is pregnant, lo and behold. And she was sure that it was her fiance's because she had been tracking her ovulation. And on top of that, she claims that she used a condom with this other man. Now, obviously, condoms aren't 100% perfect. Nothing will protect you like abstinence will. But if you only have it once and you use a condom and you're also tracking your ovulation, I'm not saying any of this is good, but you have a pretty solid idea, I guess, that probably your fiance is the father. But she says she wanted to be 100% sure. So behind her fiance's back, it sounds like, she and the man she had a fling with get a paternity test. And at first she gets 2 different tests, totaling over $1,000, and they're both inconclusive. So she finds this place online called the DNA Diagnostic Center. They are based out of Ohio. By the way, if you see a fly flying around, I say this on all my videos recently. I just have a fly problem in the summer, so I pretty much always have like 1 to 2 flies just flying around, and they're impossible for me to catch. I have fly traps. I burn incense, which I don't even like the smell of because I think it's supposed to make them a little bit, woozy and easier to smash. But it is what it is. So I'm sorry. Ignore the flies. But they find this DNA Diagnostic Center, which is based out of Ohio, but the place where they actually go and get the testing done is called Wynn Health Labs, and it's located in the Bronx. Now, DNA Diagnostic Center, by the way, says that they have done over 20 million tests used in court, and they tout themselves as, quote, the world leaders in DNA testing. So they go to this center, Wynn Health Labs, in the Bronx, and apparently it's in the back of a hair salon, I guess for the sake of privacy, and so you're not advertising that you're going to a DNA testing center, and they provide the samples. Now, this woman is so sure that her fiance is the father that in the meantime, while she's waiting for these samples to come back, or these results to come back, rather, she has a gender reveal party with her fiance, and she finds out and reveals that she's having a little girl. Then on Halloween of last year, she gets a phone call that the man she had a fling with, is the baby daddy with 99.99% certainty. Now, of course, this is devastating for everyone involved. She finally apparently has to tell the fiance, and he just cried, according to her. And he asked her, why would you go through with a gender reveal? Which is a fair question. And she told him, because I was positive it was yours. So the woman decides, at this point, she's almost 20 weeks pregnant. And in New York, there's a 24-week cutoff. So she goes and she has an abortion. Now, according to the Post, it's a grueling 2-day pregnancy termination procedure. And during it. She has a change of heart. But it was too late and the doctors couldn't save the baby. Now, that right there, the fact that it's a grueling 2-day procedure and she has a change of heart during it, all the paternity stuff aside, that right there for me is like newsworthy. I wish I could plaster that all over so that people know. We're sold this false bill of goods in our society that like abortion is going to get a teeth cleaning. You know, it's maybe a little uncomfortable. You might be a little nervous, but you're going to be fine. People do it every day. You're going to be fine. And it's really no big deal. We call it healthcare. We even call it like an act of self-love. We call it so many things other than what it is, which is killing your unborn child. And it's not without emotional and also physical risks. And to me, it's enough of a horror story, again, all the paternity stuff aside, that it's a 2-day procedure and in the middle of it, you change your mind and it's just too late. Like that makes me want to cry just in that. So one of the quotes she gave is that she wishes she could reverse this. So her fiance and her stayed together through Valentine's Day and of last year. This is 2024. And obviously, you know, another thing that people don't talk about when you have an abortion, even if the man you're with is the father, it's not this easy peasy thing. On top of the physical ramifications for the woman, there are emotional and spiritual ramifications. It's not just easy. I think people, even if they're not religious, even if they call themselves pro-choice or pro-abortion, you realize that you've done a thing that you don't totally like, that doesn't actually feel good. And it takes its toll not only on you, but also on your relationship, even, again, if the man you're with is the father. Well, it turns out on Valentine's Day of last year, this woman gets another shocking call from the DNA Diagnostic Center. And it is that actually the results she'd been given were wrong. And her fiance was the father all along. And the incorrect results were due to an IT error. So obviously the woman was devastated. Obviously the fiance was devastated. And they ended their engagement, I guess, in March of this year. So it lasted basically another month and then they were done. The woman gave a statement to the Post and she said, "My daughter would have been born on the 17th of April. I'm grieving. I just have a lot of emotions. These results were the reason why I decided to do what I did." She gave another statement to NBC New York and she said, quote, "You took away the family I could have had," I guess obviously talking to the diagnostic center who got the results wrong. "This was the person I was marrying. This is the person I wanted to build a family with. The reason I took action," meaning got the abortion, "was because I believed in these results. I thought this was something that was 100% certain, 100% true, and it led me to the abortion." So I want to say a couple things. This story was a story that I found in April at the time when it was in the news. It didn't get a lot of coverage. I didn't really even see any other conservative commentators really commenting on it. But I guess at the time I just didn't have time to make a video or whatever. But the story has stayed with me since. And I thought, you know, I'd talk about it today. Because I think there are things we can learn from this story, which is heartbreaking. I feel for everyone involved, but I feel most of all for the unborn baby who needlessly died. For no reason whatsoever, this unborn baby lost her life. And obviously, so much about this story makes it horrific. All the paternity stuff, the fact that she regretted the abortion mid-abortion. But you know what? Babies are aborted every single day in this country at 20 weeks, and they don't make the news because there's no issues with paternity, there's no false results, and it's just an abortion and no one cares. And I want to be really clear that every abortion is a tragedy. It doesn't matter all this other stuff around paternity, although that's harrowing. It doesn't matter anything else. Every abortion is a tragedy, and it doesn't change your worth, your value as a human being comes into existence when you come into existence, which is at fertilization, when a whole individuated, genetically distinct living human organism is formed. And your worth does not change when your parents don't want you, or you have the wrong dad, the paternity test came back wrong, or your parents are poor, or they're 16. Your worth never changes. You are made in the image of God. And we live in a very technologically advanced world. We rely so much on technology. It's only going to get more technologically advanced. But man-made things at the end of the day are fallible. They can be wrong. But what is infallible, what is never wrong, what is always trustworthy is God. And also the fact that you are made in his image and you are worth everything. You are worth just as much as the next person. And it never changes. Your worth is not determined by your mother or your father and whether they want you or not. So there's never a good reason to abort your baby, period. But there's especially never a good reason to abort your baby just because she has the wrong father. The paternity test came back wrong. And to be fair, I understand the human thought. I'm not pretending that I can't understand the thought process of, oh, I want to save my relationship with my fiance, so I'm going to abort the child that isn't his. I do understand the thought process, but spiritually, morally, even practically speaking, look at what happened here. Tests can be wrong. It's not the right road to go down, ever. I mean, at the very least, you give the baby up for adoption. And I understand that's hard. You know, you go through 9 months of carrying a baby that you're going to give up for adoption. Your fiance's there. He knows the whole time, or at least believes that the child isn't his. That's a hard thing, and that's going to take a toll on your relationship. But these are things you need to think about before you have relations with someone who's not your wife or your husband. And that's the next thing I want to touch on. And I know some men in the comments are probably going to be upset by this, but oftentimes when we see these stories, it's framed as the man is some type of victim. And I'm not blaming the man in this situation. Like, I'm heartbroken for him, honestly. And I'm not saying that a man can never be a victim. But I want to point out, because it's the truth, and you are your first defender. Out of everyone else, it's God and it's you that's going to be with you your whole life. You have to look out for you. And don't put yourself in a situation to be a victim. Try to avoid situations that make you a victim. This man would not have been in this situation if he was not having relations with a woman who wasn't his wife. And ditto for the woman, obviously. Like, we all know the woman's a lot at fault here. That's obvious. She had the fling. She got the paternity test behind his back. She went ultimately and had the abortion. So it's the only reason I'm not talking about her to blame is that there's no dispute whether she's to blame. But the man also, the dad, was having relations with a woman who was not his wife. And had they been married, had they committed to celibacy before marriage, likely this would not have happened, because in that case, they would have found out after they were married that they had fertility issues, or thought they had fertility issues, that it was taking longer than they expected it to take for them to conceive. And they likely wouldn't have broken up because they would have been married. They would have taken that vow. They would have already taken that step. And so, as hard as the infertility struggles would have been, they would have probably stayed together and figured it out because they were married, and freshly married at that. But instead, they were having relations, and obviously they were engaged, but that's not married. Engaged isn't married. Long-term boyfriend or girlfriend is not married. Because then, you know what? Things get tough. You have infertility, whatever happens, you can just take a break. And it was during that break that she had a fling with someone else. I don't know what he did. Maybe he did too, but she had a fling with someone else. Now, I think probably, for whatever it's worth, this relationship was doomed from the get-go, because I don't know. You break up because you're having infertility struggles, as hard and heartbreaking as those are. From my point of view, if you have found the love of your life, the person that you see a whole future with, you don't break up over struggling to get pregnant. There are other ways to deal with that, including but not limited to adoption, obviously. You don't just break up because, it's not working as quickly as you thought it would, or even at all. On top of that, if you do decide to take a break over infertility issues, you don't go have a fling with someone else right away. And that's another problem with our culture. We have this idea around casual relations, and physical intimacy is never casual. I mean, short of giving birth to someone as a woman, or you being birthed into the world by your mother, Physical intimacy between a man and wife is the most intimate physical act that you can partake in. It is the most intimate physical act that two adults can partake in, period. It is what literally keeps humanity going. It is what creates new life. There's nothing casual about it. And yet we have this idea in our culture of, oh, you're sad, go have a fling. Oh, you got broken up with, go have a fling. Oh, you're taking a break with your fiance because you guys can't get pregnant right now. Oh, go have a fling and it's no big deal and you used a condom and hey, it's fine. But as we see here, you are literally messing with lives. I mean, not just the life of your unborn child, which, yes, you are, to the point of life and death. You are messing with lives because you might go get an abortion after the fact. That's ending the life of your unborn child, but you're also messing with your own life. I mean, this woman's life is forever changed. She's not marrying the man she thought she was going to marry. Her fiance's life is forever changed. Even the fling now that's part of it, his life has changed. There's nothing casual about this, but we sell people this false bill of goods to men and to women that this is just a casual thing. It's not. And I understand that men and women have different biological responses to physical intimacy. I'm not saying that it affects men in the way that it affects women. I am not saying that. I am simply saying that there's nothing casual about this. Even if you don't call yourself a believer and you don't buy this thing about, oh, I have to wait till marriage, there's nothing casual about this. And you are putting yourself at huge risk. Physical risk, especially as a woman, particularly as a woman, but also emotional, financial, particularly as a man. You are putting your whole life on the line when you go and you have casual intimacy. The other thing I want to point out is that this baby that she aborted was about 20 weeks gestation. Now, viability right now is 22 to 24 weeks. Back when Roe was decided, it was 28 weeks. So something that I think about often is that viability with technological advances and medical advances, it's going to continue to get younger and younger. And pro-abortion advocates are going to have to reassess their position as technological advances occur. And there's going to come a day, and I'm not saying that I want this, but we're working on artificial wombs, which gives me the heebie-jeebies. But there's going to come a day where you can remove a zygote from a woman and put it in an artificial uterus and grow that baby to term. And so all this stuff around viability and 6 weeks and 12 weeks and 24 weeks, it's going to be all for naught, because basically from the minute that you know you're pregnant, you can go put that zygote somewhere else, that fetus somewhere else, and you don't even have to deal with it. Now that's going to be a whole new frontier, but it is happening. And we see that just from the fact that since 1973, viability got 4 weeks younger, and it's going to happen quicker and quicker and quicker. But all that said, the youngest baby to be born and never survive actually happened this summer. He was 21 weeks and 0 days. So he was, give or take, a week older than this baby that was aborted. And that's another part of the pro-abortion position that is incoherent and that pro-abortion advocates have to deal with, but they refuse to deal with it. It's that this woman can go and get an abortion for her 20-week-old fetus across town. Another woman is going into labor prematurely, and her fetus is also 20 weeks old, 21 weeks old, and doctors are working round the clock in the NICU to save that baby. And that makes no sense whatsoever. You know, pro-abortion advocates claim to be the side of science, but there's nothing science about that. It's the same gestational age, the same development. The only thing that is different is that the baby across town is wanted and he just accidentally came prematurely, and the baby that's being aborted here is not wanted because she has the wrong dad or for whatever other reason. That's not science, that's feelings. And again, your worth is not determined by your parents' situation or whether your mom or your dad wants you. So it really makes no sense that we would drop everything to save a baby who's born at 20 weeks or 21 weeks or 22 weeks, 23 weeks, but then we just abort babies every day in this country who are around 20, 21, 22, 24 weeks. And this baby was just a couple weeks shy of being viable, meaning there's no reason to abort him whatsoever because he can exist outside of your uterus. So you don't want him? Okay. But he can exist outside your uterus. So you're now aborting a viable baby. You are 100% voluntarily choosing to kill a baby. And not just any baby, your own baby, who could have survived on his own. So I just wanted to talk about those things because this story, like I said, is the stuff of nightmares, but there are things that can be learned from it. They seem like obvious things, but I guess they're not obvious in our culture because we just really have this false idea around physical intimacy, and we act like it's just casual or like it can be casual at all. And like abortion is a teeth cleaning, like I said, like it's nothing, like it's just healthcare and you're going to go off and you're going to be fine. The last thing I want to say to the women in particular, ladies, and then I'll get off my soapbox about abortion, but ladies, you can think biology is not fair. Like, that's fine. Biology is not fair. Life isn't fair. Nothing's fair. Okay. But it is what it is. And it's not going to change. It's not going to change reality, biology, anything else. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying men are not affected by abortion. Like, my heart goes out for any man who gets his girlfriend pregnant and he doesn't want an abortion, but she does, and he begs her not to, and she does anyways. Like, my heart breaks for that man. Like I said, don't put yourself in that position, fellas, to be that victim. Don't have relations with a woman who's not your wife. And to be fair, a woman who's your wife can also cheat on you and get pregnant by another man and you wouldn't know. But that's unchanging. That's always been that way. There's a certain level of trust we have to have because we just don't know. Nothing in this life is certain other than God. So there is a certain level of trust you have to have. But if you are discerning and you marry a good woman and you take those vows, you lessen your likelihood of being a victim. Now, like I said, my heart goes out to men who are in this situation and they don't want the abortion, but she goes and gets it anyway. So I am not saying that men are not victims or they're unaffected by abortion, because I know 100% that they are not unaffected by abortion. But to the ladies specifically, I want to tell you that no matter what, once you get pregnant and you don't want it or you feel like you're not ready, there's no clean break for you. You don't get off scot-free. He might, but you don't, because there's no option where you just disappear the pregnancy and it's like it never happened. You either go through with the pregnancy, carry to term, and you give up for adoption, which is hard and heartbreaking to carry this baby to term and bond with him or her, and then you have to give him or her up. Or you have the baby and you raise him or her on your own, or with support if you have it, which obviously changes your whole life. Or you have that abortion, and that carries immense physical and emotional, psychological risks. It is not like nothing. It is not like a tooth cleaning. And so for women especially, there is no fourth option where you get off scot-free. And you have to, again, just like the man, you have to be your own best advocate. You have to be your own first defender. You have to not put yourself in that situation, because no matter what, the men that you are going around having casual relations with, they're never going to be in that position of an unwanted pregnancy. Now, they can be in other positions where, they don't want the abortion and she does, and they have no say. They go and get it. They can be in other positions where they're accused of, being the dad and they're not really the dad, but they're on the hook for paternity. They can be in other positions where they don't want to be in the child's life, but they're on the hook for child support for 18 years. A man can be in a lot of crappy positions because of our ideas around physical intimacy and how it's casual in this society. So I'm not saying that men get off completely scot-free, but you never get off scot-free, ladies. Okay? Once that pregnancy happens, you are dealing with it one of three ways, and all of them carry their own hardships, especially abortion. But we minimize it in this society and pretend like it doesn't. And we do such a disservice to women when we do that. We do such a disservice when we pretend in this world like female empowerment is we have to, in the life of our unborn child, in order to compete with men and work like men and be like men and have physical intimacy like men, we have to literally kill our unborn children in order to be financially successful or be professionally successful. That's what we tell women in this society. And then we call it female empowerment. We call it women's rights. We call it reproductive rights. It makes no sense whatsoever. I could talk about this honestly all day. I think out of everything, abortion is maybe the thing I'm most passionate about. It is like when I changed from liberal to conservative, it is realizing the truth about abortion is what blew my mind the most. And it just lit this fire in me. So I could talk about it all day, but I've been on the soapbox long enough. If you guys want to see more videos like this, would you please like, subscribe, leave a comment? Like I said last week, my professional career situation changed pretty drastically. So I'm demonetized right now, but working on getting monetization back. But in the meantime, I could really use the support just to know you're here, monetization aside, and that you appreciate the content. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching.